Vita Lewis had given 25 years of her life to Northrise Apparel. It all began when the company was still called West Coast Threads, a small clothing distributor running out of a dusty warehouse in Sacramento. Back then, there were only 23 employees, and Vita was just the computer lady. She plugged in servers, wrote code, and slowly built the entire data system the company would grow on. By the time it became Northrise Apparel, with over 7,000 employees and distribution centers across the country, Vita had become the silent engine running everything behind the scenes. She wasn't flashy, didn't demand credit, and most people didn't realize how crucial she really was. But she knew every wire, every code line, every system pathway. She was the system. So when Gavin Pard, the young, smooth-talking new CEO, raised his champagne glass during her farewell lunch, Vita knew it wasn't a real celebration, it was a curtain call. "Technology is the future," Gavin said, flashing a practiced executive smile. "With our new automated systems and AI integration, Northrise will dominate the market for decades." Everyone clapped politely. Gavin called her a pioneer, thanked her for her years of service, and wished her well in retirement. But Vita wasn't retiring. That decision wasn't hers. 3 weeks earlier, she had been called into Gavin's office. "The Nexus system is going to streamline everything," he told her. "Your position is no longer necessary." Just like that, after decades of service, she was being replaced by software. She'd packed 25 years of her career into 3 cardboard boxes the day before the lunch. The only thing she took with her to the farewell was her small black notebook, filled with handwritten notes, backup codes, override tricks, and years of undocumented system knowledge. It was information no server or cloud could store. Only Vita knew it, and she wasn't leaving it behind. That evening, Vita sat on her porch, sipping wine and watching the Sacramento sunset. She thought about how she helped build Northrise's success, integrating systems, merging databases during acquisitions, building redundancies no one even knew existed. She had kept everything running, quietly, like the heartbeat of the company. It hadn't always been this way. When Thomas Green, the original founder, hired her, he'd appreciated her mind. "You think about things the rest of us don't," he'd once said. He trusted her. But when Thomas retired, the board replaced him with Gavin, a man with no experience in apparel, but plenty of buzzwords. He brought in consultants, spoke of disruption and digital transformation, and eventually, phased Vita out. She should have seen it coming, but loyalty made her blind. A few days after she left, Eleanor from HR showed up at Vita's door with a gift basket and a fake smile. "We just need your backup codes," Eleanor said, pretending it was a small thing. "They're in the handover documents," Vita replied, keeping the door half closed. "The master list should have everything." But Eleanor hesitated. "There's some confusion, the warehouse systems aren't responding the way they should." Of course they weren't. Those systems had been modified and reworked by Vita for years. Nothing about them was plug and play. "I'm sure they'll figure it out," Vita said calmly, accepting the basket but not letting Eleanor in. After all, the Nexus system is supposed to be the future. The first crack appeared a week later. Jerome, a longtime co-worker, texted her, "Inventory systems glitching. Nexus can't match shipments to records." She didn't reply. Then Bethany from accounting called. "The reports weren't matching sales data. No one understands the connections like you do," Bethany pleaded. "I've moved on," Vita said firmly. "My consulting schedule is full." And that was true. The day her severance hit her account, she got a call from Donovan and Mills Logistics, Northrise's biggest competitor. Philip Donovan, the co-founder, invited her to their downtown office for a simple consultation. Unlike Gavin, Philip came down to the lobby himself to greet her. He respected her from the moment she walked in. They spent 3 hours in that meeting. Philip introduced her to his tech team. They explained their biggest problems, outdated systems, inventory tracking failures, and more. Vita saw the solutions instantly. She'd solved those problems years ago at Northrise. By the end of the day, Philip made her an offer, 3 days a week, her own team, and double her Northrise salary. "I'll need to think about it," Vita said, though she already knew her answer. When she got home, there were 3 missed calls, one from Gavin, one from Eleanor, one from Northrise IT. She ignored them all. Instead, she opened her black notebook and began typing everything into a secure document on her laptop. Backup protocols, server secrets, the legacy quirks of a system that only she truly understood. The next day, she accepted Donovan's offer. 3 weeks later, she had a corner office, a river view, and a team that respected her. She felt more valued in those 3 weeks than she had in her final 3 years at Northrise. Then, it happened. Jerome texted again. Complete system crash. Orders stuck. Nexus can't fix anything. Gavin is panicking. Vita didn't reply, but she opened the business news. Northrise Apparel suffers system outage. Stock drops 8%. The article described a massive failure across their AI-powered systems. Orders were lost, warehouses frozen, customers angry. The phone on her desk rang. It was Philip. "Looks like your old company's in trouble," he said. "I just read the article," Vita answered. "Thomas Green called us," Philip added, "said we might have recently hired someone who could help them out of this mess." Vita's heart skipped a beat. Thomas, the man who once believed in her, still sat on the Northrise board. "What did you tell him?" she asked. Philip smiled. "I told him we're quite happy with our recent hire, and we're not interested." Vita leaned back in her chair, a quiet satisfaction warming her chest. She didn't need revenge, she had something better. She had value, and finally, she was being treated like it. When Donovan Mills agreed to let a few of our top consultants assist another company, I couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, the executive," Philip said, "although I'm curious, how bad is their situation?" I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to answer professionally or honestly. A part of me still carried the sting of how they'd treated me. If they tried to implement the Nexus system without properly migrating the manufacturing system I designed, then it's likely a total mess. I said finally, "The database might be corrupted, every order, every inventory entry, even shipping records from the last 3 months could be gone. It's possible to recover, but not with the team they have now. They don't understand how the old systems connect to the new ones." Just then, my assistant knocked on the door, looking worried. "Miss Lewis, there's a Gavin Pard online too. He's called 3 times in the last hour." I nodded but didn't reach for the phone. Philip raised an eyebrow. "You're not going to take it?" "I don't work for Northrise anymore," I said simply. He smiled, as if that fact pleased him. "No, you certainly don't." Then he added, "Don't forget we have that strategy meeting at 3. I'd love your input on expanding our direct-to-consumer channels." After he left, I stared at the blinking phone light, then I turned back to my work. That evening, my inbox was full of emails from Northrise executives, growing more desperate with each message. The one from Eleanor said it best. "The transition team can't figure out your backup system. Gavin is talking about hiring outside help, for $30,000 a day. Please, Vita, call me." I didn't. I shut my laptop and went home, sleeping better than I had in years. The next morning, the news reported Northrise stock had dropped another 6%. A financial analyst estimated that the ongoing issues could cost them over $50 million, and the long-term damage to their customer trust might be even worse. When I arrived at work, there was a massive fruit basket on my desk with a note from Philip. "Thank you for your loyalty. Your insights yesterday helped us land the Wilson account, for $2 million annually." I let myself feel a quiet sense of satisfaction. The Wilson Group had once been one of Northrise's oldest and most loyal clients. Not anymore. Around noon, the receptionist called. "Ms. Lewis, Gavin Pard is in the lobby. He doesn't have an appointment, but he insists on seeing you." I sighed. "Tell him I'm in meetings all day. He says he'll wait." Philip laughed when I told him. "Let him wait," he said, but I agreed to meet Gavin for 15 minutes, on neutral ground, in a first-floor conference room. When I walked in, Gavin looked awful. His hair was messy, his shirt stained, and his eyes shadowed with stress. "Vita," he said, reaching out. I nodded but didn't take his hand. "Thank you for meeting me. What do you need, Gavin?" I asked calmly, my tone cool and professional. "We need your help," he said quietly. "The Nexus integration, it's worse than we thought. They're calling it a catastrophic failure. The media coverage is brutal, but with your expertise, we think we can fix it. The board has approved a 6-month contract, very generous terms." "I already have a position here," I replied. "We'll double your salary," he offered, "triple it, if that's what it takes." I leaned back and looked at him. "You fired me. You said my methods were outdated, that I was holding the company back." He looked ashamed. "It was a mistake, a costly one, Vita. Please, we're losing millions. Our warehouses can't ship anything. Customer service can't access orders. The Nexus team says the main database is beyond saving. I thought of the warnings I'd given, the documentation I'd written, the training I'd offered, all ignored. No, I said firmly. What? No, I don't work for Northrise. I have responsibilities here. Let your Nexus experts handle it. His face darkened with frustration. You built those systems. You probably designed them to fail without you. I stood, my own anger rising. I built those systems to last. For 25 years, they worked flawlessly. If they're failing now, it's because you tore them apart without understanding how they worked. We'll sue you, he said bitterly, for sabotage. I laughed coldly. For what? Not answering your calls? For not writing down every single thing I knew before being forced out? I gathered my papers. Our 15 minutes are up. As I left, I added, there's a recovery protocol in the emergency manual, Volume 3, Section 8. I updated it quarterly for 20 years, but that would mean someone would have to read it. I walked out, leaving Gavin speechless behind me. 2 days later, I received a formal letter from Northrise's legal team, demanding all my documentation and notes. It was followed by a more personal message from Thomas Green. Vita, please call me. The board is in chaos. I respected Thomas, so I called. He answered immediately. This is a disaster, he said. Gavin's telling the board you sabotaged the system. That's ridiculous, I said. Everything worked fine when I left. I know that, Thomas replied, but someone has to take the blame. The Nexus project has failed. They corrupted the main backup during the migration. There's a tertiary backup, I told him. It's stored separately, in Building C. I set it up years ago. Silence. Building C was shut down last month, to save money. Of course it was. Vita, Thomas said gently, I know what they did to you was wrong, but there are thousands of employees who are hurting. Most of them had nothing to do with the decisions that led to this. He was right. My fight wasn't with the workers, it was with the executives. I can't come back, Thomas. I'm needed here. I understand, but what if you helped remotely? You'd have no contact with Gavin, you'd be well compensated, just enough guidance to get us through the worst. That night, I told Philip everything. His response surprised me. Help them, he said, but on your terms. You want me to help our biggest competitor? I want you to use this to our advantage. If helping Northrise gets us stronger contracts and better partnerships, everyone wins. The next day, I called Thomas with my conditions. Remote consulting only. No direct communication with Gavin. Upfront payment. Northrise signs a partnership agreement giving Donovan Mills preferred distribution status on the West Coast. That's asking us to work with our rival, Thomas said. No, I replied, it's asking you to face facts. Your distribution is broken. We can help, if you let us. After 8 hours of debate, the Northrise board agreed. Gavin was reportedly furious. He was overruled. What followed was a grueling week of remote meetings, late nights, and problem solving. I guided their tech team through restoring the systems piece by piece. I didn't give them everything, just enough to get them back on their feet. Philip was thrilled with the new contract. We now had access to clients we'd chased for years. Northrise's crisis faded from the headlines. Their stock stopped falling. I never spoke to Gavin again. I heard from Jerome that the board was questioning his leadership. This wasn't revenge. It was something better. Vindication.